General Craith Vorn stood on the command bridge of the Dominion Ascendant and watched Earth burn. Not the planet itself, just its defenses. Orbital platforms shattered into glowing debris. Human warships, sleek, fast, and stubborn, fell one by one under concentrated alien fire. Cities below went dark as their power grids failed. Radar nets collapsed. Missile silos went silent. It had taken the Dominion fleet only 11 hours to dismantle Earth's entire active military. Craith allowed himself a slow, satisfied exhale. "So ends another overconfident species," he said, his mandibles curling in amusement. "Transmit surrender terms." His aides exchanged confident glances. The humans had fought fiercely, far better than expected, but they were predictable. Centralized command, professional soldiers, limited numbers, just like all civilized species. A junior officer hesitated. "General, human transmissions are still active." Craith frowned. "From where?" "Their command network is destroyed." "They aren't military channels, sir." The screens shifted. Instead of generals and admirals, the displays filled with civilians. Men and women in ordinary clothing. Some were in factories, some on farms, some in classrooms. Some were standing knee-deep in floodwater, snow, or ash. And all of them were strangely calm. Craith laughed openly. "Have the humans gone mad?" he said. "They show us farmers and laborers after we crush their army?" His communications officer tilted her head. "Sir, they are broadcasting globally. One phrase repeats across all channels." "What phrase?" She swallowed. "Stage 2, Civilian Reserve Activation." Across the galaxy, wars were fought by professionals, soldiers trained from birth and officers bred for command. Civilians hid and waited for the outcome. But humans were different. Craith would learn that far too late. On Earth, emergency sirens did not signal panic, they signaled procedure. Factories shut down, not in chaos, but in a perfectly orchestrated sequence. Conveyor belts locked into place. Machines powered down. Then hidden compartments opened beneath floors and walls. From warehouses, basements, schools, and subway stations, equipment began to emerge. These were not crude, improvised weapons. They were advanced modular systems, all sealed in climate-proof crates. Simultaneously, every human over the age of 16 received the exact same message on their personal device. Disaster Protocol Alpha. Report to assigned sector. Assume reserve role. Await local command. Aboard the Dominion Ascendant, Craith watched in growing confusion as his sensors lit up like a star chart. "Sir," an analyst said slowly, his voice trembling, "we are detecting millions of new signal sources." "How many?" Craith snapped, his patience wearing thin. The analyst's voice was barely a whisper. 4.8 billion. Silence fell across the bridge, thick and suffocating. "That's impossible," Craith finally said. "That exceeds their military capacity by design." A new voice cut through the open channel. A human woman appeared on the main screen. She was older, with a calm, steady gaze, and wore no uniform. Behind her stood thousands of civilians who were now wearing adaptive armor that seemed to assemble itself across their bodies. "My name is Director Evelyn Hart," she said. "You've successfully defeated Earth's standing army." Craith sneered, trying to regain his composure. "Then surrender." Evelyn smiled gently, a look of almost pity in her eyes. "General, you misunderstand. Our standing army exists to delay threats." She leaned closer to the camera, her voice dropping but losing none of its power. "Our people exist to end them." Humanity had evolved on a violent planet. Earth did not forgive mistakes. Storms, earthquakes, fires, floods, plagues, these weren't just history, they were a constant reality. From childhood, every human was taught one simple rule: when systems fail, people don't. Disaster drills were not rare events, they were a core part of the culture. Every city had redundancy built upon redundancy. Every profession had a secondary role assigned to it in case of emergency. Teachers were trained medics, engineers were sappers, farmers were logistics officers. What Kraith's sensors were now showing him was horrifying. Human civilians weren't charging blindly into the fray. They were organizing. Perfectly. "Sir," an aide whispered, "they're forming command structures without a central network." "How?" Kraith demanded. "They're using local mesh coordination, analog signals, visual markers, even—" He hesitated. "Hand signals." Kraith's earlier laughter died in his throat. "That's primitive," he said weakly, grasping for some sense of superiority. "No, sir," the aide replied, his voice firm. "It's resilient." Suddenly, the sky over Earth began to shift, not from new warships, from doors. Hidden launch bays opened beneath mountains, oceans, and cities long believed to be nothing more than civilian infrastructure. Vessels rose into the atmosphere, smaller than warships, but countless. There were transports, repair craft, and weapon platforms being assembled mid-flight by civilian crews. The true nature of human space doctrine unfolded like a nightmare. They didn't seek fleet-to-fleet combat. They swarmed. Dominion ships found themselves blinded as human technicians operating from repurposed broadcast stations flooded space with debris fields designed to confuse their advanced targeting systems. Civilian hackers, former gamers, engineers, and students broke into alien subsystems using logic paths Kraith's species had never even imagined. On the bridge, reports screamed in from every corner of the fleet. "Sir, our weapons are locking onto false targets. Sir, our engines are being overridden by their maintenance protocols." Kraith slammed his claws into the console, the metal groaning under the impact. "How do civilians know how to do this?" Evelyn Hart's voice returned, broadcast on every channel, calm and clear as a bell. "General, your mistake was assuming training ends when the uniforms come off." She gestured to the thousands behind her. "Every human learns to fight disasters. To us, you are just another one." Within hours, the Dominion fleet was no longer advancing. It was completely surrounded. But the humans didn't annihilate the ships. They disabled them, boarded them, converted them. Kraith watched in utter disbelief as one of his own cruisers went dark, only to reappear moments later, broadcasting human emergency codes. "They're using our own ships," an officer whispered in awe and terror. "Yes," Evelyn said calmly, as if explaining a simple fact. "You built them well. We're just repurposing." Kraith's voice cracked, all authority gone. "You had an army," he said, the question tearing at him. "Why hide this?" Evelyn's gentle expression finally hardened into steel. "Because standing armies can be targeted," she said. "But a population trained to respond? That can't be conquered." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "And we hoped we'd never need to prove it." 3 days later, the Dominion fleet surrendered, not to generals or admirals, to civilian coordinators. Across the galaxy, military analysts were forced to rewrite their theories from scratch. Humanity was reclassified, not as a warrior species, but as something far, far worse, a disaster-adapted civilization. General Kraithvorn spent the rest of his life studying one single haunting question. How had they missed it? The answer was carved into the final human transmission Earth ever sent to the stars, a warning for any who would follow. When you fight humanity, you are not fighting our soldiers, you are fighting our survivors. And survivors never stop adapting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content just like this. See you next time.